Very well, we resume.
Mr. Baji, you were talking about how some of the meetings or negotiations were disrupted by officials of BPI going to State House.
Yes.
Now, can you tell this commission, where did the negotiations take place for the Ocean Bay Hotel?
We have our meetings at the Ocean Bay Hotel itself, at the conference hall of the Ocean Bay Hotel. That's where we've been having all the negotiations.
And can you recall how long did the negotiations go on?
Oh, no, I can't remember. I can't recall the period, but it went on for a while.
But roughly, did it take a week, a few weeks, a day or two?
Oh, I think it took some weeks.
Now, you said earlier that you were shown, the committee was shown the offer letter from BPI to lease Ocean Bay.
Yes, sir.
If you see this offer letter, would you be able to recognize it?
I should. Yes, I do.
Sorry?
Yes, I do. I do recognize it as the
Is that the offer letter that was given to the committee to negotiate upon?
That's right.
I wish to apply to tender the letter of intent from BP Investment Group. Did be. It's not dated.
undated letter of intent from BP Investment Group to the Managing Director, Social Security Housing Finance Corporation, in respect of a lease relating to Ocean Bay Hotel, admitted mark SC115.
Mr. Baji.
Yes, sir.
During the negotiations, that is the committee and officials of BPI for the leasing of Ocean Bay, was there a lawyer representing Social Security present to advise on the negotiations?
No. We never have a lawyer in our team. It was only at the end of the draft agreement that we sent it to our lawyer to advise on the details of the draft agreement.
So in effect, you're saying that the lawyer only came on board after the agreement or lease agreement was drafted?
That's right.
Okay. We'll come back to that. On a statement, can you give me a statement? No, this is my copy. Can SC114 be given to the witness? Mr. Baji, look at the second page, page number 2 of your statement. Second line, and this is what you said: we were only able to agree on what was acceptable to BPI at the end of negotiations.
Exactly, that was the case.
What do you mean by that statement, Mr. Baji?
Okay, when we went into the negotiations, we were trying to get the best we can get from the offer by coming up with a high refuse and said they can't just go up. And we're able to, at the end of the day, they said they can go up by 1,000 euro. But we had no other choice based on the conditions we found ourselves.
Are you saying that the hands... Go ahead, sorry.
That is the directive from State House, that we cannot do otherwise but to dance to their tune.
Are you saying that the hands of the committee were tied behind its back?
Oh yes,
during the negotiations.
The bottom line was that we were powerless, because these are people that dictate the way things go, and they are from a very strong camp, and none of us wanted to do otherwise.
So you would agree with me, Mr. Baji, that negotiating with BPI officials on the leasing of Ocean Bay, the committee was just going through the motions?
Oh yes.
Knowing that the end result would be that the hotel would be leased to BPI?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, do you know who prepared the draft lease of the agreement?
It was the
Ocean Bay.
It was the lawyer of BPI that came up with the draft that we looked at. And did the best we can do with that draft.
Yes, and who was representing your corporation, Social Security? The lawyer, can you remember?
No, there was, okay, at the negotiation there was no lawyer.
Yes, not after the negotiation stage.
Oh, that's Lamin Sise.
So the draft was sent to Mr. Sise
yes,
to look at?
For advice, yeah.
So did Social Security finally sign the lease with BPI for Ocean Bay?
Yes.
Now, if you see the, did you see the lease after it was signed?
Yes, I did.
Apply for MS 181A to be shown to the witness.
Yeah, that was the agreement.
Yes. Do you have the letter of intent marked SS 115 before you?
No, I saw it, but it must have been taken back.
Okay. Can we have the letter of intent? Do you have your copy?
Yes, I do have it now.
Now let's look at the letter of intent, SS 115, on the terms stated therein. Can you read it out for us? That is from the conditions we propose, SC 115.
Yes. That's from dear Mr. Graham.
Now start from the third line, where it states
the condition we propose to you are the following. The duration of the contract should be 10 years, with the call option for the lease to extend it for another 10 years. Then it says, within the lease agreement, we would ask for another 6 months of grace period to the immediate necessity for the obvious structural refurbishment. For the first 5 years, we offer a rent of €12,000 per month. During the next 5 years, we offer a rent of €13,000 per month. In case we require an extension for another 10 years, we will be willing to offer a rent of €15,000 per month. Any investment done by the lessee to the benefit of the property should carry the prior approval of the lessor. That was the condition, and it went on. Okay. There?
Counsel, your mic is off.
181A.
Thank you. Now let's look at the exhibit MS181A. That's the lease agreement for Ocean Bay.
Yes.
Now let's look at page 3. Now in the letter of intent, as per SS115, as per the terms, they proposed, BPI proposed for for the first 5 years, or they offered for the first 5 years 12,000 euros per month. In the agreement, that is MS181A, the sum of 13,000 euros was agreed upon for the first 5 years, payable per month. So are you telling me the committee was only able to negotiate 1,000 euros on top of the 12,000 euros they offered BPI?
Exactly, that was what was acceptable to BPI. In fact, we were asking for more, but they refused and said they can only pay nothing more than 13,000 euros per month.
Then for the next 5 years, BPI had offered 13,000 euros in the letter of intent, SS115.
That's right.
But the agreement, that's the lease agreement, there was only states 14,000 euros, so which means to another extra, just extra 1,000 euros on top of the 13,000
exactly.
BPI had offered.
Exactly.
Mr. Baji, do you think the committee negotiated the best possible deal on behalf of or for Social Security in the leasing of Ocean Bay, having regard a return of your investments?
If you ask me, definitely I would say no. You could have get a better deal, having been that the offer was open to open markets for bidders to compete. Definitely we would have got a better deal. But under the circumstances and the way BPI were introduced to us, we had to stick to that deal.
Now, Mr. Baji, after the negotiations and signing of the lease agreement, did BPI carry on the renovation works agreed upon by the parties, that is BPI and Social Security, as per the agreement?
Yes, they were able to achieve a lot of, most of the works specified, but we had issues with them on the manner which they conducted the renovation works.
What are those issues?
Can
you highlight some of them?
Yes, mostly it was one, they did not agree, or they did not allow our technicians to be present during the renovation works. They were not cooperating as agreed, whereby all expenses or pro forma invoices would be looked into, studied before they proceed. Okay. But they just came up with lump of materials without presenting any invoice. It is only at the end of the renovation that they come up with a huge pile of invoices, When we looked at them, some of them were not even part of the renovation because they couldn't be classified under renovation. They were expenses, hotel expenses. So we did communicate to them that the invoices they presented were definitely not to value.
So are you saying that they were not presenting your corporation with invoices, receipts?
Exactly.
As they were carrying on the renovations?
No, that was the agreement, but they never comply.
Can you remember the period between when they started, BPI started the renovations to the period they submitted that huge pile you're talking about of documentations? Yes.
I think
the length of time.
The file was submitted sometime in 2016, if my memory serves me well.
In 2016?
16, yeah. Between 2016 15, 16, yeah.
And do you know that the agreement to lease Ocean Bay was signed in 2013?
Exactly.
Now, did you ask them, did the committee ask them to provide invoices, bill of quantities, receipts as proof of expenditure towards the refurbishments and renovations?
Yes, we did ask for those receipts and bill of quantities, but we never received any. We wrote on several occasions requesting for those submissions, but they never come forward.
Now, was your department, that's housing, responsible for monitoring BP or the renovations and refurbishments carried out by BP, or was there a committee set up for that?
There was a committee set up for that,
yeah.
But it was the housing department that was responsible, leading or advising the committee on that.
So that was your department?
Yeah.
Now, do you think that BPI were able to justify their expenditure, or the expenditure incurred, they say they incurred in the renovations and refurbishment, when they provided that huge, the huge bulk of receipts and invoices, some 2 or 2.5 years later, as you mentioned?
They were able to justify their submission in the fact that we discussed with them the submission and told them categorically that we cannot accept the submission based on some of the invoices we found in the submission.
And you're also aware that BPI was deducting 6,000 euros from the monthly rentage.
Yes.
For works and renovations.
I'm aware, yeah.
Sorry? Yes. So is it that the works were ongoing and renovations? It was not something that was done all at once. Was it ongoing?
It was a process.
Yes.
Where they started with the reception area, moving on to the landscaping, and eventually finishing into the rooms.
So it took some time.
It was a process, yeah.
But this was done after they took possession of
that's right. I
Ocean
think
Bay.
The maintenance went through up to 2016.
Now, did they seek the permission of Social Security anytime they wanted to do some works or renovations as per the agreement?
In fact, that
did
was
they seek the consent? Yes.
That was what we asked them to do. We in fact asked them to seek our consent before the execution or before the commencement of any stage of renovation. But that never happened.
So are you saying they would just go ahead?
Yeah.
And
they would go ahead whenever we
carry on with the renovations?
They would go ahead on their own, do their own thing. Whenever we go to the hotel and found a new development, we would ask them why did they comply. They said because of the way, the nature of things. The hotel, the season is due, they are working against the season, they cannot do ABC, and that was the excuse they were giving throughout. They are just adamant not to comply.
Now, did your department and the committee responsible for monitoring the works, did they at any time send in a team of experts to verify the works that were being carried out by BPI Investment?
Oh yes, our team of technicians have been on the ground on several occasions. In fact, we wanted to have a team on the ground permanently, but because they were not cooperating, we had to withdraw the team to the office. Because the agreement was that we'll have a permanent team that will be monitoring the activities, checking on the standards of the renovation, materials used and the like, but they don't give them the chance. They would even inform them of their activities. They just keep them waiting, hold them in a room or in the reception there, waiting for the whole day. Afterwards, they were frustrated and came back to me and said, Tamsir, these people are not complying, they are not cooperating with us, so I don't think there's any point for us to be there.
Did you do anything about it?
Yeah, I spoke with the management, and I told them that this was what we agreed. They said yes, and they started giving flimsy excuses. We know they just don't want to do it, and that was it. We had no other choice but to withdraw the team.
Now, do you know whether BPI Investment or BP Investment Group were paying their monthly rent? Because the agreement states quarterly. Do you know whether they were paying their rent on time?
They were always in arrears, and there are numerous letter of demand that can prove that. Up to the time I was leaving, they were in serious arrears.
What about utility bills? That is electricity and water. Do you know whether they were paying?
Yeah, they had issues with NAWEC. We had to come up with an arrangement where we guaranteed the repayment. And even there, they were in serious arrears.
Now, Mr. Baji, let's also talk about the leasing of Sun Beach Hotel by your corporation or your former corporation, Social Security, to BP Investment Group. Were you part of the committee?
Yes, I was.
That negotiated on the leasing of Sun Beach Hotel?
Yes, I was.
Can you remember the other committee members?
Yes, involved the director of admin, the director of the finance, the chairman of the committee, were the members of the committee.
So as in Ocean Bay, you were tasked with negotiating with BPI for the leasing of
Sun Beach.
Sun Beach.
That's right.
I want to highlight something that you said in your statement. Do you have your statement before you?
Yes, I do.
That is SC 114.
Yeah, I do.
You said that is line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Line 8 of page 2. You said it is important to note that BPI started to operate part of the hotel, Sun Beach, well before we finalized the lease.
That was exactly the case.
Can you expand on that? What do you mean? Yes.
Well, we went to during the process of negotiations, we went to the hotel one day.
Sorry, before that, I've just been informed that I had asked you about, you had not finished giving us the names of the other committee members. So please, let's finish with that, and then, yes.
Okay, that was the housing department, the director of housing, director of finance and investment, the director of admin, the committee chairman, by the members.
So that's what you can remember?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you remember their names?
Sebatu Fall was the chairman. Mr. Foon, Babakar Foon, Abdullah Cham, most of the time been deputized by the senior finance manager, Hadi Kebe, and myself.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go back to your statement about BPI operating part of Sun Beach Hotel before the lease was finalized.
That's exactly what happened. They went ahead and finished a portion of the hotel and started operating it at the beginning of the tourist season without even informing us. It was one day when we went to the hotel and found them operating, and they said, well, they rushed that part so that they would generate some income. And we asked them to at least give us an account of the benefits or the proceeds of that operation at the end of the season, but they never did.
Now, are you? Let me get this right. Are you saying that Social Security as a corporation was not aware, or the committee was not aware?
The committee was not aware. At the time they started the works, no, we were not aware.
Do you know whether management was aware of this?
Well, I was part of management, and the committee were the ones that convey information to management, advise management on the process. But definitely, we were not aware.
So, part of the hotel was being operated by BPI without a lease agreement signed between them and your corporation?
No.
So when you demanded for the accounts, were you provided with one?
No. The chairman has been very...
when you say chairman, sorry, give us
the chairman of the committee.
Name?
Mr. Sebatu Fall.
Yeah.
Have been making such demands, and I can remember during our meetings, he always feel frustrated by the way they were going. He expressed his frustration during the meetings. And definitely, they were not a team that we could manage at any point in time.
Now, when you were tasked, when the committee was tasked to negotiate with BP Investment Group to lease Sun Beach, were you provided with any offer letter or proposals from BPI to lease Sun Beach?
Yes, it was the similar pattern of the Ozone Bay process.
If you see what was provided to the committee, that's the proposals from BPI, would you be able to recognize it?
I think I should, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, the proposal, this came in April.
Yes, sir, that's the document.
You recognize it as the proposals from BPI?
Yeah, that's exactly.
For the leasing of Sun Beach?
Sun Beach Hotel.
I apply to tender the lease proposal for Sun Beach Hotel dated March 14th, 2016, and a third proposal to lease Sun Beach Hotel property dated 11th April 2016.
We start from A. Letter dated 14th March 2016 from Tourism and Company Services Limited. That is to say BPI Investment Group to SSHFC in respect of a lease relating to Sun Beach Hotel. Admitted mark SC116A. Third proposal document from BPI dated 11th April 2016. Proposal for Sun Beach Hotel property plus 2 annexures. Admitted mark SC116B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Baji, earlier on you spoke about knowing about an executive directive from the Office of the President to lease, for Social Security to lease the 2 hotels, that is Ocean Bay Hotel and Sun Beach. How did you know about this executive directive?
Well, we were informed by the managing director as a result of the task force that he created to negotiate and discuss with the BPI team.
Who was the managing director then?
Edward Graham was the managing director.
But you did not see it, the executive directive?
No.
Now, do you know who gave BPI permission to start using or to renovate part of the hotel and used it before the lease was finalized?
No, I have no idea about that. We found them using it, and when we confronted them, they said they decided to use it because the season was about to begin and they wanted to make some money before it's too late.
Did the committee inquire from the managing director at the time?
Yes, we informed him about it, but I can't remember exactly what his responses were. In fact, it was the chairman who normally discussed those issues with him.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. It was the chairman who normally discussed those issues with him, and then sometimes would come back to us, sometimes they conclude what they discuss on.
Now, during the negotiations with BPI to lease Sun Beach, did the committee raise this issue with them, with the officials of BPI?
Well, yes, about the development of the...
Before the lease, yes.
Oh, yes, we did.
And what was their response?
Well, the excuse they gave was, well, they have to do it because they want to catch up with the beginning of the tourist season.
Let's come to the negotiations. Before that, did they provide the accounts for part of the hotel that they were using?
No.
Or trading from?
No, not to my knowledge, not at all. Because we have been following them, and the chairman have been personally following that issue.
Now, during the negotiations to lease Sun Beach Hotel to Ocean Bay, did your corporation have a lawyer representing them during the negotiations to advise on the negotiations?
Not at all.
You said in your statement, that is page 2, and the statement is marked SC114, page 2, line 7. And you are referring to Sun Beach. We agreed on the amount that was acceptable to BPI. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on it?
Yeah, it followed the same trend as Ozone Bay. The offer stated an amount, and we tried to come up with a counter offer which they refuse. But because of their position, they feel that that is what was acceptable to them. And we had to go by what they can agree to.
And
in a situation where the offer was not competitive, we had no other choice. We were asked to deal with them and finalize with them.
Was the committee, at the time of negotiations, was the committee aware that there was an expression of interest to lease Sun Beach by one Mr. Rob Bearings? There was another offer, apart from the BPI's offer, from Mr. Rob Bearings to lease Sun Beach Hotel.
No, I'm hearing that name for the first time, I think.
Now, did you see the lease agreement for Sun Beach after it was, or the sublease agreement for Sun Beach Hotel after it was finalized and executed by the parties?
Yes, I saw it.
Now look at MS 181B. Now, I also want you to look at SC116A, the exhibit marked SC116A. Take your time, look at SC116A, especially the conditions. And also, when you're done with that, you let me know so you can look at the lease agreement, page 2.
Yes, I've seen it. Is it page 2?
Page 2, yes.
Of the lease agreement, yes.
Page 2 of the lease agreement marked MS181, sorry, MS181B, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I also want you to look at the exhibit marked SC116B, page 3.
Page 3.
Yes.
Yes.
As to the terms of, you've seen it?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Baji, you'll agree with me that the committee agreed with BPI on exactly the terms, especially when it comes to rent payments, on exactly the same terms or proposal or offer, if you like, as that which was stated in Exhibit SC 116B. That's page 3. That's
Exactly.
the third proposal from BPI.
I quite agree.
You can confirm that,
Yes,
looking at the documents.
yeah. I've seen the figures.
So what then did the committee negotiate on?
Well, as I said earlier,
What was the point of the negotiations?
it's quite interesting to ask the question because
If the committee was only going to agree on the terms or offer made by BPI.
that's why I stated clearly on my statement that we had no other choice but to accept to what was or conclude onto what was acceptable by BPI. Because they refused to add a dime on their offer, and you conclude on that.
Sorry. My apologies. In the agreement marked Exhibit MS-181B, that's the one for Sun Beach. Please look at the second page, number 3.
Yeah.
The term is that, or the agreement here is that BPI would spend nothing less than 2 million euros to renovate and refurbish Sun Beach Hotel. And this was to
Still.
prepare for the tourist season. Sorry, can you answer and not nod, please?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, I've seen that. Sorry.
Up to the time you retired, do you think or do you believe that BPI spent any amount close to this 2 million to do the renovations for Sun Beach Hotel?
Not at all. Because if you may have seen the attached projection that they proposed to carry out during the renovation period.
Sorry, come again.
You can see a projection for the renovation works attached to the was it the agreement? So there's a projection where they projected the process of renovation. Can't remember where.
Is it contained in the agreement you have?
Yeah, well, it should be in one of the documents. Okay, it's on the proposed submission.
What is it marked
Yeah.
as?
SC116B. If you look at the last page,
Last page.
where they make a projection of renovation from 2016 to 2031.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is where they highlighted their planned renovation process. That they were going to start in 2016, and after 15 years, this is what they were coming to.
So, who was responsible to monitor BPI when it comes to, as far as the renovations and refurbishment of Sun Beach Hotel was concerned? Was it your department?
My
or
department were supposed to monitor the works, but we asked for specific schedule of works. Was with the experience we had with them on Ocean Bay, we wanted to develop a new system whereby they would give us a schedule of works that we would be following, but they refused to give that schedule of works. So we were frustrated at the end.
Did BPI provide receipts, bill of quantities,
For Sun Beach, they never
documentations to prove that, to prove the works that were being carried out?
for Sun Beach, they provided no document, no invoice, no receipts
When it comes to expenses, to prove the expenses.
on the
Yes.
on the renovation. No, they provide nothing.
And did you ask for
Oh yes,
them to provide receipts and bill of quantities?
it's been always requested during our meetings. They would promise to forward them, but it never.
Did the committee report or this to the managing director at the time?
Oh yes, the chairman must have mentioned it because it reflects on our minutes.
Now, did the committee negotiate the best possible deal for Ocean Bay? Sorry, not for Ocean Bay, for Sun Beach.
Sun Beach Hotel. I would say no. If it was in an open market, we could have got a better deal.
Mr. Chairman, that will be all for this witness from me. Yes. Unless the commission members have questions for the witness.
Okay, Mr. Baji?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a few questions. We just want to get more information to understand the context of what happened. You gave us an overview of your career history, which is fine. And just to confirm, you mentioned that you were with Social Security for 28 years, that's correct? Okay. The first question, can you give us some info on the year that the hotels were purchased by Social Security and the cost, if you know?
Definitely, I can't remember.
You don't?
I can't remember offhand now.
Okay, so you can't remember the year it was purchased?
No, I can't prepare the year of purchase from Amis Beach. No.
Okay. Yeah, we'll ask for that later. But just, you were there over the years, you could see, because Social Security, one can come to the conclusion that they purchased the hotel for investment purposes and should have made returns over the years. You've clearly mentioned to us that the investment with, well, the lease to BP investment was a total loss to Social Security.
Well, I would.
It was a loss.
I wouldn't call it a total loss. I would call it not the best deal.
Okay, but what did Social Security benefit from that, if you say that?
Well, okay.
In terms of returns wise?
Yeah, for the BPID, for the Ocean Bay, the 30,000 euros that they were paying monthly are the benefits. One of the benefits we benefited from the from BPI, and secondly, we do benefit from the renovation works. Just to be quite candid, the renovation works have really increased.
Gotten a better deal. What was the measuring reference?
To be quite frank with you, I don't base it on any reference, but had it been that we were allowed to do our appraisal, survey, at least we would have come with a benchmark and tender this on an open market. I'm sure we could have got a better deal.
But that is the starting point. Anyway, if you get an offer, whether you can negotiate well or your hands were tied, you could still do some market referencing and get a benchmark, so you can argue and say, well, if we had a free hand, A, B, and C would have been our choices. If you didn't do that, then you had no benchmark.
Because we don't have a benchmark.
So was that part of management's unwillingness to get a better deal?
I wouldn't say so, because at the time we did try to have a feeling of what is in the market locally. But unfortunately, such a lease does not exist at the time. Hotel lease does not exist at the time, to be very frank.
Do you know how much Social Security paid for those 2 hotels?
I can't remember the figure.
See, that's also a starting point.
That would have formed part of the appraisal.
Your input measured against what is coming will tell you whether you're making a loss or gain. But as Director of Housing, if you don't remember that figure, it becomes difficult to know whether what they're paying you is competitive. Not so. Did you buy it voluntarily or you were compelled to buy it?
We were compelled to buy it.
You were compelled to buy it.
To be frank with you.
And you didn't see the figure as an institution, yes, or you just don't remember?
I cannot remember, but
okay,
that was the figure.
All right. Now, the other bit is, why were your hands tied? Who was behind BPI, a private corporation? I mean, that compelled you to accept their offer. Why did you accept it? You were a national enterprise. So in terms of favoritism, you should have been the more favored one. Why were you not favored over them?
You see, when you work with directives.
Directives from where?
From the President's office.
The President, the former President favored VPI over Social Security.
Well, I wouldn't say he favored, but the directive came. Well, I didn't see the directive, to be very frank with you. But we were informed that there was a directive for us to negotiate with BPI and lease them the hotel. That was how it was introduced to us.
Okay. So management then did not find other offers to compare, and management did not seek legal advice, yeah, in terms of whether the directive is law and that they should comply or ignore it and still look for offers. So why was the legal advice left to the last stage? For most enterprises, the first thing they do when they see a proposal they don't like is to seek legal opinion, whether external or in-house. So as an enterprise, how come legal opinion was not the first thing you sought? Is that just a style, or the board didn't insist on it? What was it about public enterprises that they didn't seek legal opinion?
Okay. Under normal circumstances, we do work hand in hand with our legal advisors, but in occasions such as the Ozone Bay, where it was a directive, we just
you were not facing the office of the president around the negotiation table.
No.
You were facing BPI officials. Who represented the office of the president or the government during the negotiations?
Okay, I think it is also important to know the guy behind BPI. That's very important.
Yes, we would like to know.
He was ambassador at large.
He was?
An ambassador at large, they call him, Mr. Ambassador.
An ambassador at large?
Yes, that's how he was called.
He was a private person?
He was a private person, but
he wasn't a government official?
He was not a, well, he was not a Gambian government. He's not even a Gambian. but he was an ambassador at large. That's how he was presented to us.
And he carried his weight and status and used it to influence.
That's right.
What happened to Social Security managing directors? Why couldn't they carry their weight and say, I am facing a counterparty as good as we are? You just ignore the office of the president and deal with the counterparty in front of you. What stopped you from doing that?
You see, during the negotiation, whatever we were doing, we have at the back of our mind that we are indirectly dealing with an instruction.
An instruction that management interpreted on its own without legal advice. You should have sought the implications of not complying with the directives. And that can only come from your lawyer. In fact, it's always dangerous to go to those negotiations without your lawyer accompanying you. So maybe it was management's failure rather than the directive.
That was a fact. But with directives, we hardly involve lawyers there. With directives, it's just a matter of, especially when our guy, MD, was sent once, and when he came back, he was very, very, very weak. So,
Mr. Baji, will you agree with me that one fundamental weakness of public enterprise management is that they do not have people who have worked in the financial sector? When you get civil servants, public servants being moved around, all they understand is follow directives. It does not work in a for-profit organization.
Well, I quite agree with you.
You do not go to run Social Security because you are obedient to the executive. You go there because you are accountable to the shareholders. So if you come with the military mentality, you're going to make that organization fail.
You are quite right. We are never happy and we are never comfortable with directives, I'll tell you. It's the worst nightmare in that office. Whenever a directive is received, you can see it from the face of the MD.
So you think the BPI people came with the mindset that they have behind them a directive and they could get away with any price they put on the table, any offer?
That's exactly.
That's precisely what happened.
What happened, yeah.
And you had no room or legs to stand on in terms of pushing back.
Well, we did our best, and that was it.
Thank you.
To be very frank, sir.
Mr. Baji, again, we are trying to just get more context. You mentioned earlier that Social Security was compelled to buy the hotels. That's your word, right? Yes. Okay. Before the hotels were leased to BPI Investment, who was managing the hotels? What was happening during that period?
Yeah, the management, the hotel management was created by Social Security to run the hotel.
Okay.
And I would add to the difference between the former management of the hotel over the years as compared to the lease of the hotel. There is a huge difference.
When Social
Security... let me just land on the difference. The difference is such that during the management time, throughout that period, Social Security have not realized a dime from the hotel. In fact, at the time of leasing this hotel, we have a problem of renovating the reception area of the hotel, which the roof of the reception was almost collapsing. And we have to dip into our coffers to have repaired that roof, which was in the millions. Definitely we were continually spending, on the hotel. And definitely when they talk about lease, that also forms part of our weakness, that we were not benefiting at all Now there's a window of realizing something, where I would go by the term of half a loaf is better than none.
Okay, I think your statement is clear. It's just concerning to us because, you know, again, if Social Security is compelled, you're using pensioners' hard-earned funds, you know, including myself. Let me speak for myself. So it's concerning when all these investments are made and then there's no return on investment. It's really very concerning. You know, so it's one of those.
It is a sad situation that affects us as well, because we are all beneficiaries, and when directives come, we know that we are spending our money. We don't see it as we're spending somebody's money. We are part of that money, you know, and it hurts us. By now, if the figures are presented as to the state of our accounts before 1994, as compared to the state where we ended in 2016, you see a huge difference. The management style is different. The earnings or the income are completely different. Definitely, it was a huge concern to us that we were not supposed to be spending our money or person's money, person's fund, in the manner that it was spent.
Okay, thank you. It's very clear, and we thank you for that. Because over the years, I think it's common knowledge, Social Security has always been a liquid institution, a lot of cash. But you know, we've seen over the years for Social Security to be operating on overdraft. It's concerning.
It's a big concern.
Yeah.
I tell you, as a pensioner, I'm a victim of that. I should have realized at least 60% more than what I realized by the time I pension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're the younger generation, you see. So
that's even worse. Well, it will be better. Don't get frustrated. It is building up, and we hope that the trend continues.
Thank you.
Just one question. You mentioned directive many times. Whose directive?
The directive?
Who gave the directive you mentioned?
The directive comes from the office of the president.
That's all. Thank you. You may go. We'll rise. We'll be back at 2:30.
Thank you, sir.